Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here and talking to some young, bright, and curious minds. The minds which are hungry for knowledge and looking for some food for thought. Well, the vision statement of Karnataka Law Society, which runs this wonderful institute, says to become leaders in professional and technical knowledge with a global outlook and national spirit. This national spirit is very, very important for the nation. And if India aspires to be counted among the great nations of the world, the people of the country have to have that national spirit. And a nation can have national spirit only if it holds the martyrs of its armed forces in high esteem, only if it recognizes the significance of their contribution, only if it feels grateful to them. So remembering and honoring martyrs is a national obligation. And a nation with a conscience like India ought to be fulfilling this national obligation in true spirit and with utmost sincerity. As you all know, giving is a great virtue. And altruistic giving is a greater virtue. Altruistic means giving without any quid pro quo, without any expectation in return, without any selfish interest. And the highest form of altruistic giving is giving one's life for the country. And somebody who does that is a martyr, and he's none other than the soldier of our armed forces, the epitome of valor and sacrifice. There are close to 25,000 such valiant soldiers who have laid down their lives since 1947 to preserve the territorial integrity, to preserve the freedom which we all are enjoying today. And one soldier dies every third day at the border on an average. But few days down the line, he is rarely remembered. Have you ever wondered what happens to these soldiers? What happens to their families? And where are the stories of these soldiers who gave away everything for us? The stories of determination, the stories of commitment, the stories of sacrifice, the stories of love for the country, the stories which can inspire future generations of India. Where are the stories gone? We ought to be knowing these stories as we owe a debt of gratitude to these soldiers who created these stories with their blood and sweat through their valiant deeds. We ought to be knowing them. And why not? They went beyond their call of duty and fought for us. Take the case of Major Shaitan Singh in 1962 war, in the Battle of Rezang in Ladakh. He was company commander of 13th Kumaon Battalion, and he was holding against 3,000 Chinese soldiers with his 100-odd men. They were no match, either in terms of their numbers or the quality of weaponry, but they fought till the last man and the last bullet. Major Shaitan Singh got a machine gun burst in its stomach. His stomach was ripped open, his intestines were hanging out, and when the two soldiers were carrying him on their shoulders, he realized if they did so, their lives would be in danger. So he told them to leave him behind. And when they resisted, he told them it was his order and they had to follow his order, and he was left behind. And his body was recovered 3 months after the war, lying frozen. He was given Paramveer Chakra. He went beyond the call of his duty. Or take the case of Major Bhupinder Singh in 1965 war, in the Battle of Phillora in Punjab, where one of the largest tank battles in the history was fought. During the battle, his tank got hit by another enemy tank. It caught fire. With a lot of struggle, he extricated all the crew members of his tank. And look at the bravery and commitment of the soldier. After bringing the fire under control, he again swung into action, knocked off 4 enemy tanks. But after some time, his tank again got hit, but this time with a deadly Cobra missile. And the attack was so deadly that it split the tank open. 2 of his crew members were burnt alive, and with a lot of difficulty, he extricated the last crew member. But during the process, he was severely burnt, and he was shifted to Delhi Military Hospital. And when he was recuperating, Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri visited him. And when he came near to him, he saw tears in his eyes. He said, Major, you are a soldier. It does not befit a soldier to be teary-eyed. To that he replied, Sir, I am teary-eyed, not because of my pain, but because of my helplessness that as a soldier I am not able to salute my Prime Minister. This incident touched the heart of Prime Minister Shastri, and he narrated this incident in various speeches thereafter. Major Bhupinder Singh did not survive, and he died a couple of days later, and he was given Mahavir Chakra. He went beyond the call of his duty. Or take the case of Sipahi Anusaya Prasad in 1971 war, a young soldier from Mahar regiment with just 6 months of service. He was deployed along the eastern border, and he was tasked to demolish a building. That building was in fact a tea factory which was being used as an ammunition store by the enemy. It was highly fortified, dominated by enemy machine guns. When he was crawling on the ground with hand grenades in his hand towards the given objective, he was shot in one of the legs. Undeterred, he carried on. He was shot in the other leg. He still carried on. After some time, he got a machine gun burst on his shoulders. So bleeding profusely from legs and shoulders, he carried on and on and on and reached the objective, threw the grenades, and demolished the building. But during that process, he was martyred, and he was given Mahavir Chakra, and he became the youngest soldier in the history to get that award just at the age of 18 and a half years with just 6 months of service. He went beyond the call of his duty. Or take the case of Captain Mahendranath Pulla, captain of INS Khukri, the battleship, in 1971 war. INS Khukri and 2 more battleships were deployed in North Arabian Sea to neutralize the threat of enemy submarine. But INS Khukri was attacked by a Pakistani submarine, and the attack was devastating. There were 2 massive explosions in the ship, and the ship went dark. The ship started sinking on the starboard side. Realizing the situation, Captain Mahendranath Pulla issued orders to abandon the ship. And displaying exemplary leadership skills, he personally supervised the rescue operation and tried to save as many sailors and officers as possible. He gave away even his own life jacket to one of the sailors and went down along with the ship like a true military leader. He was given Mahavir Chakra, the one and only Mahavir Chakra given to Indian Navy. He went beyond the call of his duty. Or take the case of Captain Kangaroos, the Kargil war hero from Nagaland, during the Battle of Three Pimples Ridgeline in Tololing. When one of the enemy machine gun posts was impeding their advance, he, as platoon commander, decided to launch an attack on the enemy post. But the enemy post was on top of a cliff, and the road to the cliff was very vulnerable and open to enemy artillery fire. But that didn't matter to him, and he launched the attack. When they were moving towards the cliff, he got hit by a shell splinter in his stomach and was bleeding. But undeterred, he carried on. And when they were climbing onto the cliff, on those icy slopes, he realized that his shoes were slipping. Then he did the unthinkable. He removed his shoes in the biting cold of minus 10 degrees centigrade, and he kept on climbing and reached the top of the cliff bare feet and demolished the enemy machine gun post with a rocket launcher. But during the process, he was also hit and was martyred. He was given Mahavir Chakra, the first and only Mahavir Chakra given to an officer from Army Service Corps, the logistic supply arm of Indian Army. He went beyond the call of his duty. So there are hundreds of such stories of gallantry and sacrifice wherein they went beyond their call of duty and fought for us, not because they hated the enemy, because they loved the country and they loved us. It is now our turn to think beyond ourselves and acknowledge their sacrifices and strengthen that culture of honoring the martyrs in the country. You can honor them in 2 ways: by honoring and taking care of their families, and by taking care of the country they loved, country they lived and died for. There are close to 25,000 martyrs' families scattered all over the country, mostly in remote areas, from remote areas of Assam to Rajasthan to J&K. And they're living their lives with their own set of financial, domestic, and social problems. And I'm not talking here of any government support, because government has certain responsibility towards them, and it is doing very well, whatever it can, whatever it should. I am talking here about the civil society, about the people of the country, who also have certain moral obligation towards them. Let's ask ourselves what we can do for them. It is indeed a gigantic task, but not an impossible one. We are over 1 billion people. Can't we take care of 25,000 families? Yes, we can. What is required? Will to do it. What is required? Ingenious ideas from young people like you to do it. What is required? Unflinching support from enlightened Indians like you to do it. We can certainly do it. And the second way of honoring them is by taking care of the country they considered worthy dying for. And you can do that by realizing that the freedom which you are enjoying is at the cost of many, many lives. And if you realize, if you appreciate its worth, its value, you would take care of it like you would take care of a very, very expensive thing at home. And if you do that, you would rise above caste, creed, and religion. You would rise above all the differences. You would act and think unitedly and have that national spirit. That national spirit which is required to make this country counted among the great nations of the world and eventually make it the greatest nation in this world. Thank you. Jai Hind.